I've skated DKL non-abrasive grip tape for the past 6 months. Every new clip that you've seen on this YouTube channel or maybe my Instagram has been filmed on a deck with DKL on it. And the final verdict is that I think it's a worthwhile purchase. So what am I doing with a sheet of Jessup? Besides the fact that I think gripping a freshie with Jessup in a video while I talk about how much I like DKL is poetically ironic. For a little background, this is not the first time I've tried DKL grip tape. In fact, when I first started skateboarding, maybe just a month or two in, I got DKL grip tape for a different skateboard and I absolutely hated it. It felt so slippery to me, I did not enjoy myself, and I wasn't really sure if I'd ever try it again. However, 6 months ago, I did decide to give it a second try, and the new upgraded 7th gen or Gen 7 DKL grip tape, I think is different. I felt like it could finally compete in terms of performance with Jessup. I guess the first thing that you could talk about is wear and tear. Now, the previous generations, people complained about it peeling up around the edges and having bubbles. I might have gripped as many as 6 skateboards with this, and peeling up around the edges hasn't been a problem for any of them. Now, the only thing I noticed that could be considered peeling is that around the bolts, you do get these bubbles if you're not skating the grip tape. So I had a board that I gripped and then I didn't get to skate, and it very much bubbled around the bolts. But once I started skating it, it did flatten out and it was fine. Now, in terms of peeling, the only place I noticed any peeling whatsoever is that on a freestyle board, I grip the underside of my nose and my tail. And right here is the only place it would peel. So I'm guessing that maybe it doesn't adhere to a graphic as well as it adheres to the bottom of the board. Otherwise, I'm not sure why it peeled. Literally, it peeled on all the undersides of noses and tails, but it didn't peel on the top of any of the decks. Oh, hello. In fact, my only real complaint with the grip is the gripping experience itself. It's very difficult, and for maybe the first 3 or 4 boards, I really struggled to get clean lines or even decent looking lines, and it's not that bad once you get used to it. In terms of wear, the DKL grip tape lasted me 4 months before it was so smooth that I couldn't really take it anymore and I wanted a new sheet. I did wear like these tiny little holes into it, which I thought was interesting, but because it is rubber, the rubber will wear down over time and become more smooth. But 4 months is about how long a pair of shoes would last me with Jessup grip tape. So, I mean, are you getting a new sheet of grip tape or are you getting a new pair of shoes? Seems to be the big difference. Speaking of, let's start actually gripping this freshie because, I mean, look how gorgeous this new Revive graphic is. I had no intention of buying a new popsicle shape this year, but when I saw this graphic, I just, oof, it got me. Anyways, let's get this going. So for the most part, the DKL grip tape was pretty on par with Jessup. I would say that it is just slightly less grippy, but it was fine for me. I really enjoyed my experience with it. And then you do start to get used to that slightly less grippy feeling. It didn't really feel like a big deal when I was switching from the Jessup to the DKL, but I am curious how I'm gonna feel coming back to it after 6 months. I can't even really remember what this felt like. But I cannot deny I'm excited to grip a normal board for once. Feels like that's going on straight. But it only took me just a couple, oh wow, this is weird. But yeah, I feel like it only took me just about a few sessions to feel really comfortable. There was no trick that I suddenly could not do after I switched to the DKL. But then again, there also weren't any tricks that I felt like became a lot easier when I switched. It was just a little bit of an adjustment. But I feel like I did a terrible job. And that's really the whole story. The long and short of it is just that I enjoyed it. However, oof, I did miss these lines though. However, now that it's getting cold, I did notice something that might be unfortunate about the DKL. And I don't know if it's because I was skating a board that I gripped with the DKL about 6 months ago. So I don't know if it's that the board grip itself kind of aged or if it's just the cold weather. But since the temperatures have dropped because it's winter, I feel like the grip has become slightly less grippy and kind of suddenly so, which is the problem. I'm a little bit worried about the performance of this grip during the winter. If you live in a place like Long Beach, you probably don't have to worry about it. Which is why, when I ordered this deck, I decided not to order another sheet of DKL, and I figured that maybe it was just time for me to try Jessup again. Because if there's one thing I know about winter skating is that for me, in certain ways, winter skating can be very miserable, and a slippery deck is just not something that I want to add on top of that equation. I'll tell you what though, I really missed this nice clean grip. So I think the final thing to talk about is who should use DKL grip tape, because the reason I purchased DKL grip tape was because I care about consumption. I don't really care about spending money on shoes. I mean, I have a job and I don't have children, so I'm at a point in my life where I can kind of afford to buy 2 or 3 pairs of skate shoes a year and not worry about it. Like, it's not gonna hurt me, but I don't enjoy the overconsumption. I don't enjoy having to throw out my shoes all the time. That's the big thing. I'm very aware of the impact that skateboarding has on the environment, because a skateboard is a consumable. You use it until you cannot anymore and have to throw it away. And that does bother me a bit. It's one of the problems I have with skateboarding. So the thing I like about DKL is not the money saver. I mean, I still have to buy new sheets, but a few sheets of rubber grip tape do feel like they make less of an environmental impact over the course of a year than a couple pairs of shoes do. And so I'm willing to take that small hit in performance for that. It's the overconsumption. However, I don't know if it's going to be worth, I forgot to unscrew these. However, I don't know if it's going to be worth saving 1 pair of shoes this winter if the alternative is I'm slipping on my skateboard and I'm not having fun sessions, because then there's not really a point of me skateboarding at all. Which is why I ultimately decided to try another sheet of Jessup. I think it'll be nice to finally be able to compare the two experience-wise, now that I've skated that one for so long. But the truth is that it does exactly what it says. It'll save your shoes. It's kind of a no-brainer to me, as long as you just don't mind that dip in grippiness. It just depends if that's what you want or not. Let's finally get this together. That was a close one. Let's just skip to the end, yeah. And we are all set. We have a brand new freshie, a 7.75 Revive. This is actually a John Hill graphic, but I mean, how could I resist these flowers? We've got Thunder 147s, I think they are, and 2 Spitfire Formula 4 99 Duro 54mm tablet-shaped wheels. For anyone who's curious, we've got Bones medium bushings in here, and I believe these are the Bones Big Balls bearings. Yeah, the Bones Big Balls bearings. I will say that nothing really beats the aesthetic right now of a sandpaper grip tape. Like, that's just, it looks so good. I'm really excited to skate this. I'm curious to see how I feel. I am gonna keep skating the DKL on my freestyle board, so I will be able to see as the temperatures drop if that also starts to feel as slippery as my other popsicle shape was feeling. Only time's gonna tell if it's worth it for me to switch back to Jessup for the extra grip. It might be just a wintertime thing to get me through the cold weather. I really don't know. But I do think it's great for anyone who has concerns that are environmental or economical. If you're curious, just pick up a sheet when you get your next pair of shoes. That's when it's gonna work the best. And if you hate it, you can just switch back. It didn't really... And we are all set.